Our February patch not only gave us some updated data mines for cards releasing in March, but also gave us our first sneak peek at what April's lineup could be for Marvel Snap. Let's go ahead and dive on into the details and see what these upcoming months could have in store for us in the game. The first change to a card releasing in March is the Season Pass card. It's actually a change that I called out when we first reviewed this card on the channel. Hope Summers is still a 3/3, but she now says after you play a card here, you get +1 energy next turn as opposed to the +2 that she had originally been data mined with. I think this card is probably still not only playable but also powerful at being +1 energy. You play Hope on turn 3 and you could play out as many as 3 cards to her location on turn 4, and if you mix in things like Nightcrawler or Kitty Pryde or Jeff, they'll leave you space to play even more cards out to her location on turn 6, meaning Hope Summers could realistically account for as much as 5 or even 6 points of additional energy over the course of the game on those final 2 turns when you're looking to generate the biggest swings possible. I think this is going to be a sweet Season Pass card even with this change, one that I'm expecting to be fairly powerful. Our second and only other change in the data mines for the March releases in our most recent patch is to Pixie. Pixie is now a 2/1 whose on reveal says shuffle the costs of all the cards that started in your deck. So 2 big changes to Pixie. First is that her initial data mine was a 1/3. I'm not surprised to see her stat line change like this. A 1/3 means the card reads as typically having a drawback, but while Pixie could be downside in certain situations, I think she's going to be big upside a lot of the time. The second difference comes in Pixie's text box from her previous data mine. Pixie now only shuffles the costs of cards that started in your deck, and the most notable inclusion of this started word in her text box means that she will no longer shuffle the cost of Thanos Infinity Stones with other cards that began in your deck. I have to imagine there was a deck in Second Dinner's playtesting that was like Pixie, Thanos, and then a bunch of 6 drops, so you shuffled a bunch of 1 energy costs onto 6 energy cards. It was just absolutely crazy. I'm happy to see them get out in front of that before this card releases. Even with this card no longer synergizing with Thanos and having a far less efficient stat line, I think this card's also still going to be powerful and sweet. It's a Mr. Negative X deck building requirement. We're going to put some cards like Wasp and Yellow Jacket in your deck so you can swap their 0 costs onto big giant 6 drops like the Hulk, or even something terribly obnoxious like Goliath. This card also synergizes strongly with your own copy of Mobius, since it will prevent your cards from having their costs increase while still enjoying their decreases that she provides. I think Pixie's going to have a huge slot machine style impact on Snap when she releases at the start of March. The other 3 releases slated for March, Mockingbird, Cannonball, and the War Machine, all still have their same stat lines and text boxes as when they were initially data mined. Rather than rehashing my thoughts on those, I'm going to link my previous review in the video description down below. Let's go ahead and jump on to taking a sneak peek at the April releases for the first time on the channel now. Our first card on the April release docket is Baron Zemo, who's data mined to be the upcoming Season Pass card. Baron Zemo is a 4/6 whose on reveal says add the lowest cost card from your opponent's deck here on your side. Honestly, Baron Zemo, especially as a Season Pass card, is kind of a head scratcher for me. Similar to Hope Summers, I wouldn't be surprised to see this card get an updated text box or cost or stat line before it finally releases, because as written, this card's just completely unexciting in my opinion. The average stats that you're going to get for this card is just far below what we expect from the average 4 energy card in Marvel Snap right now, and it's going to take up 2 spots on your location on your side to not give you numbers that are above rate. It's likely not meaningfully disruptive to what your opponent's deck has going on either, taking their lowest cost card. You also don't really build your deck around Baron Zemo the way you typically build your deck around Season Pass cards, so I'll be interested to see what exactly they do with this, but there really isn't a lot that jumps to mind to do with this, and I think this could unfortunately be a pretty underwhelming Season Pass card if it releases anywhere close to what it is now. Our first Spotlight Cash release for April is data mined to be quite large, and that is the Red Hulk, who starts off as a 6/10 but gets 4 energy anytime your opponent ends the turn with unspent energy while Red Hulk is in your hand or in play. The hidden information dynamic of what this card does if it's a metagame staple is really interesting to me. Anytime you have the option to use energy or not, you'll have to think, is this worth giving stats to my opponent's card? From the side of playing Red Hulk, your opponent only has to have at least 1 unspent energy 2 turns over the course of the game for Red Hulk to be above rate for a 6 energy card, offering 18 points worth of power. This card also has the potential to be a tech card in the right metagame. You can play this against Sunspot decks or specifically High Evolutionary, who likes to pass the turn with unspent energy. They'll be paying you off for your card as they build up their own as well. It's also noteworthy that the way the Red Hulk is templated, if your opponent leeches you like High Evolutionary decks are known to do, Red Hulk will actually maintain the bonuses he already has up until that point, although obviously he'll stop getting them after the fact. While I don't know that I expect Red Hulk to break the metagame in half, I do imagine it will likely be a playable card, especially in any format where High Evolutionary sees play, and I think it's neat to see Second Dinner experimenting with the design space of big 6-drops without creating 50 power things like the initial Blob release did. Our next April release potentially releases a new high-quality 2 energy card to Marvel Snap, the USAgent, a base 2/6 with the ongoing effect -1 power for each of your other cards here. I'll be interested to see if USAgent releases with this 6 point of power as opposed to being downgraded to 5 in the wake of Luke Cage being changed back to being a global effect. If it does release with 5 or 6 power, I expect USAgent to be a very competitive card, especially inside of that 0 Luke Cage Enchantress shell that I currently enjoy playing with Lizard and Typhoid Mary. Agent is just another big, great low energy card whose downside gets mitigated by all 3 of these other cards that are useful in a lot of situations. Our next April release is tentatively the White Widow, data mined to be a 2/2 with the on reveal of adding a -1 power Widow's Kiss to your opponent's side at her location. The Widow's Kiss is a 1 -1 card with the ongoing effect your other cards here have -1 power. At face value, I really like what White Widow has going on. She starts off at 3 points of power for 2 energy, which is nothing to write home about, but she scales all the way up to 6 points while also synergizing heavily with clutter cards like Debris and Green Goblin, while also serving as an enabler for something like Mojo to fill in that last spot on your opponent's side of the board on a key turn to activate your 2 energy play. Our final April data mine is an effect that I've been wondering when it was going to be coming to Marvel Snap, and it is an interesting first implementation. The Red Guardian is data mined to be a 3/4 with the on reveal effect of remove the text of the lowest power enemy card here. While Red Guardian can remove the text from ongoing effects like Iron Man or Wong that are often going to have low power in their lane, Red Guardian offers a first-time ability to interact with a number of other cards that are triggered abilities in Marvel Snap and not ongoing that we previously didn't have any other cards to remove text from. I'm sure this isn't a completely comprehensive list, but off the top of my head, the number of non-ongoing cards that Red Guardian can positively wipe text off of includes Sunspot, Elsa Bloodstone, Angela, Bishop, Havoc, Werewolf by Night, Black Knight, Meek, Wolverine, Adam Warlock, Hercules, Kraven, Kingpin, Deadpool, Sebastian Shaw, Kitty Pryde, and the Collector. Well, obviously, those cards all see varying amounts of play at varying levels of competitiveness, and some of them will typically have higher stat lines in their lane, making them harder for the Red Guardian to hit. I thought it was just outlining exactly how many cards in Snap don't currently have clean answers to interface with them, that Red Guardian is the first of its kind to be added. I have to expect this white text generically off a card is an effect that we'll see on other Marvel Snap cards in the future under different conditions. And I'm glad to see Red Guardian be a reasonable testing of this water on a card that's probably pretty playable. After the number of mid-tier releases January have, I'm really excited that February, March, and now April are looking to have a pretty banger set of Marvel Snap releases. If you enjoyed my breakdown on these, be sure to snap that like button. Let me know in the comments down below which of these upcoming cards you're most looking forward to getting your hands on.